Thank you. All right, let's go to another conversation now that's also related. We see in the dynamic landscape of the Nigerian financial sector, Access Holdings is embarking on a strategic initiative poised to reshape its future and enhance its competitive edge. The company's decision to pursue a rights issue represents not just a financial maneuver, but a bold step towards unlocking new opportunities for growth and development. Let's discuss this more now with Mr. Rotimi Fakejo, who's the Managing Director of Greenhouse Business Diagnostics and Analytics Limited, joining me right here in the studio. Great to have you.
A pleasure.
So I know it's rights issue season, at this point. So all we're talking about right now, we know the banks are tapping the markets at this time, but talk to me about Access Bank's rights issue. We've had some people people talk about how it's quite different, from the usual, at this time. So tell me about your take on this rights issue from Access Holdings.
Well, as a stockbroker, whenever any offer is being taken it's ongoing in the market, they tell investors, ask your stockbrokers, ask your solicitors, ask your investment bankers. And basically, is to seek information as to know whether they should deploy more money if it is a rights issue, or they should engage in it at all if it's a public offer. However, we have Access Bank here, and I think the three cardinals of investment, of you being able to take a position, is you looking at this company, is it growing? This company, is it profitable? This company, is it sustainable? Now we've seen Access Bank maybe when the new management took over about 20 years ago, we saw how small it was. And the Bible says we should not despise a little beginning. Investors that took advantage of Access Bank then are having a fantastic years thereafter. Because Access Bank that was at the brink of death was revived, strengthened, empowered, and we are where we are today. And over the years, when you look at the metrics for the different banks, about 4 years back, when you look at profitability for Access Bank, it wasn't as much as those of other banks. The reason had been that they focused on growth. In growing, they focused more on consolidation. And having attained consolidation, we are seeing a situation whereby they have now matched up with the top leading 5 banks in the Nigerian banking space. So now when you talk of growth, Access Bank can be compared to any other bank. When you talk of profitability, they match up with every other bank. And looking at it in terms of sustainability, the diversification of Access Bank assets, both having dominance in the Nigerian space and also in Africa, in Asia, and in Europe. They are present in about 22 countries. And I make bold to say that what we have seen may just be the beginning of not just saying Access Bank is one of the top 5, but to a great extent, maybe the #1 bank. And how do I say this? When you look at the metrics, the gross earnings of Access Bank is the topmost. It's about 2.54 trillion in the last audited financial year. When you look at the balance sheet, the asset base is about 26 trillion. As at the last audited, the liability is about 20, which makes it about 46 trillion. Other banks that got close to that, they're just in the neighborhood about maybe 32 or 36. So when you talk of balance sheet size, Access Bank is tops. When you talk of gross earnings, Access Bank is tops. And the figures are there for anyone to see.
All right, I'm talking about the figures. At this point, we're seeing they're trying to raise about 351 billion naira from this rights issue. So definitely, we know these banks want to raise money. But what do you think Access is going to be using this money for?
Well, I think if you look at it came as a regulatory compliance, But I think at the end of it all, immediately that statement was issued, the banks embraced it, but we have seen a lot of preparedness in Access Bank and the boldness that they have. Other banks are doing hybrid offer, that is a mix of rights issue and public offer. But we are seeing Access Bank doing rights issue, which means that they believe in themselves. With the figures that we have seen over the years, the trend has been established. And at the same time, they believe that their shareholders believe in them strong enough to be able to take positions. And when you look at the ongoing rights, I'm coming back to what you asked. When you look at the ongoing rights, the trading in rights of access is very, very active. So even those people who may not be around to take up their rights, new investors are coming in to buy those rights. And believe me, with what we are seeing, this, even as at this time, is already near success. Now, when you look at what they want to use the money to do, they want to expand business locally and internationally. They want to improve their infrastructure assets. And at the same time, they want to look at how they can upgrade what is already on ground in terms of expanding their horizon. So I think with the diversification of that particular, aside from Access Bank and the Access Holding Group, Access, we also have oxygen, we have hydrogen, we have Access PFA. And with all of that diversified and present in a lot of other countries, I believe that this is already a success. Because we do interact among ourselves as stockbrokers, and for what we've seen, I think with the consolidation we have seen in their performance over the years, I believe strongly that whoever is making a choice of taking up their rights at this time, they're making the best lifetime decision. And how that is, we talk about short-term benefits of this. And
yeah, I was going to come to that, because definitely investors want to know what is in it for them.
Exactly. You know, when you look at the short term, the 52-week high of Access Bank shares was over 13 naira before the virus pullback, right? You understand, which also happened to other banks. Now, when you look at 30 naira above, that means buying these shares, taking up your rights right now, you are taking it up at a discount of what the intrinsic value of Access Bank should be.
So you're saying that stock is undervalued right now?
Exactly. Because when you look at the trajectory that we're going to see in the next 6 months, I will be justified with what I'm saying today. And when you look at the contemporaries, I've just said that Access Bank has the highest gross earnings, has the largest balance sheet. When you look at the top 5 banks, the pricing of Access is still a little short. There's still a deficit compared to those other ones. So I see a situation whereby we see, just as they even up in profitability, they will also even up in terms of the way investors price them. So in the short term, we're going to see price capital appreciation for Access Holding shareholders, Access Holding Corporation shareholders. Then also in the long term, we're going to see an increasingly consistent dividend payout. Because all I've seen is they are not in a hurry, because they believe consolidation is the first thing to do. So having consolidated now, we're going to see more dividend payout to the investors and better growth in all spheres.
All right, so, you know, definitely talking about dividends, how constant, you know, or have they been, you know, when it comes to dividend payment? Because we know investors love to know. They want to know how's this company, you know, doing when it comes to, you know, payments of dividends. And obviously we also have some investors, you know, these are quite interesting times, and we know it comes a squeeze, but we have some investors that be trying to decide, should I take my rights at this time? What's your advice to that kind of investor?
Well, without missing words, if an investor chooses not to take his or her rights in Access Holdco, I believe it will be the biggest mistake of a lifetime. Because after this, we're going to see stronger banks in the Nigerian banking space. we're going to see a stronger economy with the various policies that this present government is churning out. By the time the results begin to come out, we're going to see an influx of foreign portfolio investors. And as at that time, which shares, which company shares, which equities will they be asking for? They're going to look at the performance metrics of different sectors, especially in the banking. And without mincing words, they're going to have to choose access with other banks. And when foreign portfolio investors' money join what we have presently in Nigeria, the 30.7 naira that we've seen as a 52-week high of Access Bank, of Access Holdco, will just be like a child play. Just we have seen other banks get to 50, we're going to see a new trend happening for Access Holdco by the time this consolidation is, this offer is over, and by the time we see their next audited financial report. So investors are going to do themselves a lot of favor. If they already own Access shares, they should ensure that they take up their rights. And if they do not own Access Bank share, Access Holdco shares, they should also go to the secondary market. Their rights are being traded, and for investors to take advantage. But whoever is taking up rights right now is taking it up at a discount.
At a discount, considering where it's coming from. Okay, but how does this offer impact Access Holdings, market performance? When I'm looking at where they are now, where they've been, and where they're going to.
And like I said, when you look at the operational expenses of Access Holdco right now, relative to others, is somewhat high. But that is happening because they are focusing on expansion. So whenever you take up a new asset, like they are doing in several African countries, you are definitely going to have to spend money to be able to put those assets in proper shape. So that is where we are seeing that the profitability is just about getting even with other banks. But with the consolidation concluding, and after this offer, we're going to see more profitability for Access Holdco. And when that happens, we know that the EPS will increase. The EPS, as at the last auditor, was about 17 naira. And if the EPS increases, and banks are allowed to pay about 30% of their EPS, then definitely we're going to see a situation whereby the dividend being earned right now is going to be maybe about 50% of what they will earn in about 2 years' time. So investors are taking an all-round decision by endorsing themselves to take up their rights at this time. And if you do not have a present shareholder of Access Holdco, you still have an opportunity by going to the secondary market, tell your stockbrokers, I want to take up, I want to partake in this, but I'm not a shareholder. Trade in the rights for me and buy for me, and definitely you'll be a partaker of what is to come.
All right, let's just imagine now, let's maybe fast forward, the banks have met, their capital raises, and that whole season, comes to an end. Where do you see, Access Bank share price, at that kind of time?
Well, I've just said it. Investors, we had a recession in the pricing of bank shares because of the present offer. So investors will rather take up their rights because they have opportunities 1 for 2, 1 issue for 2 already held. They can't get that quantum in the capital market, in the secondary market. So they are rather taking up their rights. And if they are taking up their rights, definitely we can expect the price in the secondary market to continue to go up while the offer is on. So when the offer is over, and new investors will now look at, okay, I took up my rights, I even want to take more. By the time they see the half-year report of Access Holdco and the Q3, we're going to see the trajectory coming back for that for the equity.
So that means you see that share price actually going up.
Definitely. And remember I said the 52-week high was 30.7, and now we are at about 19. What that implies is that taking up your rights right now, we are already booking a 50% capital appreciation in about 6 months' time. There is no other investment that can guarantee you that.
Guarantee. Key word, definitely. Thank you so much. It was great having you for this conversation, Mr. Rotimi Fakayejo, MD, Greenhouse Business and Diagnostics and Analytics Limited. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
Yeah, so yeah, it's all about rights issues right now, and some public offers as these banks are moving on to raise capital for the Central Bank of Nigeria recapitalization exercise. But we're going to drill down more on what's happening with the markets and most of the global markets that we track. That's in a moment. Just stay with us.